Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a game similar to Pong in Scratch. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove our Scratch cat sprite here. So let's click delete on that. Now we want to create a ball. That is the first thing we're going to kind of get done, is some sort of ball which can move around. So let's go to choose a sprite. I'm going to use this ball here. It's literally called ball, so if you just search ball it will come up. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to go to costumes and make sure it only has one costume. We don't need multiple. And I'm going to keep it this colour. I like this colour. Now, with this ball here, what we want to do is under the script, we want to say events when green flag clicked. So when the player hits this green flag and the game starts, we're going to want to set the position to 0, 0, because by default, that is the centre of the screen. I'm actually going to make the size maybe 50, just so it's a lot smaller. We're going to click motion, go to this one here, which gives us the option to change the values and drag that into there. And we're going to want to make sure this is 0, 0. Now if we hit play, you'll see our ball gets locked over here whenever we hit play, which is good. Good start. Okay, now I'm going to paint a backdrop. So I'm going to hit backdrops, click this backdrops tab up here. And we're going to go to the bottom, add, choose a backdrop, and I want sort of like a, kind of like a football field with, as in it's got the kind of marks on the floor, but maybe a black background. So we're not really going to get that here. So let's go back and we'll just paint one. So make sure we've got a backdrop here, and we'll just paint one. Let's convert to vector, and we're going to click this fill tool here. And I'm going to make it maybe like a grey-black. Convert to bitmap so we can set this whole background to that colour. Okay, I'm going to make that more black. Like so. Now we're going to convert back to a vector. Choose this line here to get the patterns that we're looking for. So I'm going to make this maybe 5. Let's see what that will look like. Let's make sure the outline is white. That's not too bad. I'm going to maybe make it 10. Just to give it a bit more thickness. Make sure that outline is definitely white though. That's a lot better. Now I'm going to put a straight line right down the middle here. And I'm going to select and kind of snap it to the center here. As you can see, we can snap that there. Now we've got this center of our backdrop, so we know exactly where the center is relative to our ball. 0 and 0. Once again, sorry, I keep moving the ball around. And I'm just going to add a little circle now. So maybe if we hold shift while doing this, you will see that it makes sure that it is completely relative and that the size is not getting stretched or anything. So I'm going to make this maybe that size there. I'm going to fill it. For fill, I'm going to use this red line. This means it will not have a fill, it will be empty. And for outline, I'm going to give it a white outline. Once again, of size 10. Actually, that looks a lot bigger. Let's maybe go 5. Yeah, size 5 will do. Make sure it's kind of the same size as this line, otherwise it might look weird. And there we go, that's a lot better. Now let's make the paddles. So to do that, we want to do, we're going to paint a sprite, why not? And we will simply draw a rectangle. Now I'm going to center that here, so it's just easier when it comes to coding it. And I'm going to maybe make this one blue, and then I'll make the other side red, why not? So this will be paddle blue. And we're going to make sure that this paddle is in this corner here. So that is a size of -230, how low will this go? -130. So -230, -130. Like so, just so it's in this bottom corner. And now, we're not going to duplicate this yet, because we're going to program it to go up and down first. Okay, for the movement of this blue paddle, we are going to, first of all, we're going to need to make sure the Y is at 0 here, so that it's in the middle. I don't know why I said it as bottom left, sorry, I wanted it to be the middle. Now, under the code, we want to go to control, events, sorry, when green flag clicked, motion, and we want to set, basically go to the position where it is at now. Make sure the Y is 0, so it's perfectly centered on the Y axis. Now we need to. I'm gonna add another when green flag clicked, and this is gonna be a green flag click. This is gonna control our movement. So we want forever. Now we're gonna change this a bit later, so it won't always be forever, because if of course the player dies, we don't want to still be able to move. But that is gonna be a bug we'll fix later on. Now what we're gonna want is an if then operators, and now we want, because what we want now is if it's moving up and down, or so basically if W is pressed or D is pressed, or S, sorry, then it's going to move up and down. So we want an OR here in this if statement. And now sensing, so if we want key, and this is going to be, we'll do W for now. If key W pressed, in fact, I've actually made a mistake. We don't want the OR here, forget that. We just want if key W pressed. Now remove that if. Under control, we want if else. And then another if under that else. That's what we wanted, sorry. Now that if, so it should be if key W pressed, duplicate that. Else, if key D, not D, sorry, S. Keep thinking of D, where's S? S is there. Then, that is what we want. Now, what we want is to basically move. So we'll go to motion, move 10 steps. 10 steps should be enough. And once again, we'll do minus 10 steps for S, because that would be backwards. Not 20, sorry, 10. Now, if we hit play, you're going to see something. We are going left and right and not up and down, which isn't brilliant. So let's fix that. What we've got here is direction is 90. If we click direction and make that 0, sure, it's going to change the way that our sprite is like configured and facing. But now if we press W and S, it goes up and down. Now the easiest way to fix this would be to go into the costumes here, click on our rectangle, and we can grab this rotation here and basically rotate 90 degrees. Now, it might be quite hard to get it to exactly 90, so what we can do is zoom in really far until it lines up with these little squares here. Make sure you're on the vector for this, and that's how we know it's perfectly 90. And that's it, there we go. Now if we do it, we're going up and down, perfect. So that's our movement done. Okay, now what we need is to make our our red paddle. The ball is going to come back in a minute. Let's duplicate all of this for our red paddle. So this will be paddle red. And now that we've got this red paddle here, we can see that on the paddle blue it's at minus 230. So if we put 230 in this one, that will be the opposite side of the plane, I guess. The plane. Now, let's make this one red. Let's go costumes, hit this, and fill red. That easy. Now what we've got is a problem. And now what we need to do is go from minus 230 to positive 230, because it's meant to be the other side. There we go. Now if we press W and S, they're going to both move at the same time, because we need to make the red one use like the arrow keys. So let's say up arrow and down arrow. Now what we will have is two things that work pretty well. You'll see that the limits are a bit odd, as in you can kind of go out of the bounds of the map. What we could do is say if, we could say forever, under all these ifs here, we'll make another if. So if, I'm doing this on the blue paddle, by the way, for now, just as an example. You don't have to do this, but if you want to, you could say if, and then use the bigger than operator. Under motion, you could go to, so it's the Y axis we're changing by. If Y position is bigger than, 230, then we will say go to minus 230. It shouldn't be 232. It should be minus 230, and the highest possible. So if we want to restrain it at 230, then we will go to 230. And now you'll see if we go up, the Y position is to minus 220. Oh wait, am I going the wrong way? Oh, so it doesn't even reach 230. So let's restrain it at 200 for the sake of this here. So then we want to set the Y to 200. Now if we do this, you'll see it gets restrained here. It cannot go more than that. Now let's set it to 150. This will create a somewhat larger effect. You'll see it's restrained up here. Wait, this actually needs to be 0, 230, not 232. Let's try that again. Yeah, and now you'll see it gets restrained when it hits the top. And you can do that for both here. We could do if, and then duplicate that again, and do if position is bigger than -1. Oh, actually, this should be less than, sorry. Position is less than -150. Then exact same system, except that is -150. We duplicate that, drag it into the paddle blue. We clean up the blocks. It's actually not come through, so let's try that again. Drag it through. There we go. Put it under there, and now we've got a limit. Perfect. You'll see here, up, down. Oh, okay. We need to adjust it on the red paddle. Sorry, this should be a positive 230. Not a negative, because it's meant to be on the opposite side. As you can see, they are restricted now, so they cannot go out of the map, which just is a lot better. Now what we need to do is make the balls bounce off these paddles. Okay, so now to make this ball work, under our ball here, we need to add a movement system, really. We need to kind of point it towards, so let's say when green flag clicked, we're going to wait maybe half a second before the game starts. And then we're going to want to launch the ball either towards the blue paddle or the red. We'll make it a random paddle. Point towards, and we'll make this a paddle blue or paddle red. To do this, we need to get an if, then get an operator, and equals, and we want a pick random 1 to 2. So if pick random 1 to 2 is equal to 1, then we're going to go to the blue paddle. Else, sorry, this should be an if else. I'm getting really bad at that. Move that into the if there. Move towards the paddle blue. Else, move towards the paddle red. Now it will go towards a random paddle. Or so it should. Oh no, it points towards it, sorry. And then what we want to do is motion and go to, or let's just move. We'll just move. If we move 10 steps, forever actually. So under this if, we want a forever, move 10 steps. And now you'll see it went to the blue. Now if we keep playing, sometimes it goes to the red, sometimes it will go to the blue. Now we need to make it bounce off. So we want to say, when green flag clicked, forever, if touching, so we want if sensing, and then touching paddle blue, then we're going to bounce. We need to make it bounce. So to make it bounce, we want to go to events, not events, sorry, motion, point towards, and then paddle red, and that'll be it. That should literally be it. And then we'll just duplicate that for another if touching paddle red, point towards paddle blue. Now we're going to have a little problem here. As you can see, it's bouncing, but we need variety. Like, I could just go over here. As you can see, it will always go towards my paddle, which is not brilliant. We don't want that. We want it to be a bit more random. So what we could do is point in direction. Instead of point towards paddle red, we want to point towards the direction of, if we say 90, and see what happens. Or not 90, sorry, let's say 45, and you'll see something. It should go up here. Yeah. Now, what we need to do is get a range of this angle and this angle. So we need to kind of figure out exactly where the possible area would be. Well, let's have a look at 60 here. So 60 is going to be too much. Maybe 75. 75 should be perfect. It should be between 75 and maybe 135. But we should make it random. So what we should do is we'll go point in direction, and now operators, pick random, and this will be between 65. Well, actually, yeah, let's start with 65 and see if 65. This would be like our minimum. So 65 is a bit too steep, so let's try 70 as our starting value. We just basically want to make sure it can kind of hit this top corner. Yeah, 70 is perfect. So we know we're going to be picking between 70. This is the hardest bit here, is trying to figure out what works. And now let's try 120 for the minimum. So we want it to hit the blue. So 120 is far too steep. Let's maybe make it 110. And it should hopefully, yeah, 110 is perfect as well. So it's going to be between 70 and 110. So point it in direction, pick random. Now let's duplicate that for our point towards the red paddle. And this will be minus 70 and minus 110. Because remember, it's going to be the opposite side. So we've just got to basically use the inverse absolute number. Now if we hit play, we should get some cool mechanics here. Okay, now you're not going to see that the physics here isn't going to be perfect. Now there's something we can do about that. So once again, we need to make a similar system here. So we need to have the ball bounce up and down off of the kind of walls of the arena. So to do that, what we're going to do is duplicate these if touching. We only need one here. If touching edge, which is simply the edge of the game. Then we're going to point in a direction. So if so we need to figure out what it's just bounced off of. Well, first of all, we'll just do if touching edge, then we'll point in direction 70 to 110 for now, and have a look at how that goes. And as you can see, it is not having a good day. So when it bounces off the blue, it does not have a nice time, but when it comes off the red, it will bounce back, which is nice. However, we want it to work with the blue, so let's duplicate, okay, let's make a variable actually. We're going to create a variable for all sprites, and we're going to call it paddle touched. Okay. Now, when the green flag is clicked, we want to set paddle touched to nothing, an empty string, so just 2 quotation marks. Actually, we don't even need that. We'll just get rid of it. Set it to nothing, like so. Now, if we hit play, it's nothing. Perfect. Now, I'm going to leave that reading up there. Now, if we touch the blue paddle, we want to set paddle touched to blue, like so. If we touch the red paddle, we want to set paddle touched to red. And this essentially is the paddle it's just bounced off of. As you can see, blue, red, and that will be the paddle it's just bounced off of in the game. Now, what we want is if touching edge, then, and I'm going to hide this variable up here. We want an if, we actually want an if else, I keep making that mistake. We want an if else, if equals, and we're going to want variable, so if paddle touched equals blue, then we're going to want to point in the direction of this, but the negative addition. There we go, negative addition. Else we want to put it in the positive, the absolute addition. Let's do that. And now we should get a nice little bounce system. Okay, it's just gone straight through the paddle, the red paddle for some reason. Why has it possibly done that? If touching paddle red, then point in direction. Oh, it's because these are the exact same. So what? That should be minus 70, minus 110. I don't know why they've gone the same. There we go. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we've done that the wrong way around. This should be negative, and that should be positive. That should be no. The bottom should be negative, and the blue should be positive. If that makes sense, and here's why. Okay, when it touches the actual side, it will be game over anyway, so that doesn't matter. But now, if we bounce it off there, it comes back up. And now it's working a lot better. Now what we're going to do is we want to essentially make it so the game ends if it touches the sides. So let's let's paint a new variable. This will be called end or something like that. And essentially it's just going to be 2 black long or red. It could be any colour, who cares? Well, no, it actually needs to be black because it needs to blend in. But for now, we will keep it as red. And we just want to align these so they are right on the edge of the game here. Just so, this is basically, if the ball touches this, it'll be game over, essentially. Like that, there we go. Let's make it 0, 0. Drag that in. That can come out a bit. And that's it. The player will not be able to see these. These don't have to be a perfect distance away from each other. We're just going to make them black, and they will blend in with the background. And now let's just... We don't even need to show it. I'm not sure. I don't remember how this works. If we hit... You know what? We'll show it and go to code. And now, when green flag clicked, go to 0, 0, so it's centered. And we want to set transparency. I think that's under looks. Set ghost effect to 100, and it should disappear. Yeah, disappears. Okay, now under the ball we want if touching. Oh, I did not want all of these extra bits. Let's just duplicate this last one. If touching the edge, we want end. Then variables. Do we want variables? Yeah, we'll create a variable. Game ended. Okay, now at the top here we want to set game ended to false. Then what we're going to do is if it touches the end, we're going to set game ended to true. And we want to go to control, stop all. And now I believe if we do that, yeah, everything stops. The game breaks, essentially. And once the game's broken, I'm going to hide this. Then, in fact, we don't even need the game ended variable. Yes, we do, actually. Yes, we do. We want to go to backdrops. When green flag clicked, forever. If, then, and we want to say, get an equals. Variables, game ended is equal to true. Then we are going to switch backdrop to costume. Switch backdrop to backdrop 2, which we're going to make now. So let's paint. Let's just duplicate this one here, backdrop 2, and maybe put some text. Game over, like so, and center it, or just whack it up here. Who knows? We'll center it. Give it an outline, give it a black outline, or like a red outline or something. Anyway, yeah, we want to switch backdrop to backdrop 2. And now when the green flag's clicked, you want to make sure the backdrop's on backdrop 1. Let's hit play, and play our game. Boom, it's all working nicely. Everything's working well. Everyone's loving life. Oh, it even bounces off the top. And, oh, game over. Perfect. Now, just to ensure that everything works properly, before I stop everything, I'm going to wait 1/10 of a second, so 0.1 seconds, just to ensure this game over screen definitely appears. And that's pretty much it. What else we could do is add a variable called speed. So let's do that. Create a variable speed. Okay. And when green flag clicked, we're going to set speed. We're going to hide it so it's not visible. We're going to set speed. Set speed to 10. And when we are moving 10 steps here, we actually want to move speed steps, because that's 10, you know. You get the gist. And now every time it hits something, we want to increase speed. So change speed. Yeah, change speed by 1 is what we'll do. Change speed by 1. This may not work at all. So yeah, whenever it bounces off a paddle, we want to change the speed by 1. This might get very, very problematic very quick. Oh, it's because we're not changing speed, we're changing game ended. That is why. Okay, never mind. We want to change speed, not game ended. Yeah, this is where I think it might get a bit problematic. as you can see, yeah, it's definitely getting quicker, but by a lot more than 1 at a time. The best way of fixing that is adding in by basically waiting like maybe 0.2 seconds before it changes the speed, just to ensure that the ball isn't still touching the paddle, and it's definitely like left the collision of the paddle. There we go, that's better. Now you might find that even changing the speed by 1 might be too much. You might want to maybe make it change it by 0.5. But for now, this will do. You can tune your own game. Okay, everyone, and that is our Pong game. Now, as I say, it can be improved, but we can make a more advanced video on it if you want us to. Just let us know. Let us know. We'll probably make a Pong game, and I'll probably show you how to make it in Unity or C#. But this is very, very fast-paced. Anyway, yeah, I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next one. And goodbye, everyone.